is up, everybody? And welcome back to the Bat in the Hat podcast, where we dive deep into all things nerd. My name, of course, is Cara Zor-El, and this is my show. This week on the Bat in the Hat, we're going to talk about why Supergirl got canceled. And we're going to take a look back at the Arrowverse and figure out what happened, what went wrong, because it's really bad. The Arrowverse is terrible. The Greg Berlanti verse, the CW verse, whatever you want to call it, it's not good. And I'm sure there's a lot of you out there who are like, well, hold on, hold your horses. You know, I like the CW. I like these shows. You know, and hey, I 100%. I'm with you. I think that to each their own. Love what you love, like what you like. Do whatever. However, one man's opinion. I was in love with The Flash and Arrow and all of these shows as they were starting to pop up. And I don't know when it switched, but one day I was watching it, and I was watching my favorite show, The Flash, and I was just like, man, this is really not good. I don't like this at all. I'm not having fun right now, and I'd like for this to stop. Pretty please. And that's when I realized, man, something's got to be done. I mean, there's nothing I can do. I'm just a lowly podcaster. I'm just a guy who likes to sit at his desk and talk to nobody and hope that you guys are listening. All 5 of you, whoever, ends up listening to these episodes. But I figure it's still fun to explore. And let me say about Supergirl. I really enjoyed the first couple seasons of Supergirl. I don't even think that went south. That, to me, was by far the most political show of any of them. And I've talked about how, regardless of politics, and I know it's probably hypocritical to say, but I did watch these shows to, get away from all that. Even if I agreed with a lot of the views, I watched these shows to escape, to get into nerd. And I'm realizing how hypocritical that is, because I sound like, those people who are like, these NFL players, they should just play football, And I don't know, but it just felt like it was getting to be a little bit much. Like things were being shoved down my throat rather than like, hey, we believe in this, But all in all, Supergirl was a pretty great show. I really enjoyed it, and I loved The Flash. I loved Arrow, not to the same extent. I think Arrow was very early on and very quickly a love triangle show where every minute of every episode was like, but I love you, but I can't trust you, but I'm so angry, So that was kind of hard to stomach. But all in all, the CW shows, the Arrowverse, they were great. And I'm just not sure what happened. So let's kind of take a look. So Supergirl got canceled. They're going to have an extended final season. So instead of just 20 episodes or whatever the usual is, I think theirs is 20 episodes, maybe 23 episodes, whatever. Instead of the usual, it's going to be a longer season, if you can believe that. So get ready for 30 episodes or some shit like that. So they're basically going to cram 2 seasons worth of stuff rewritten into one longer season. Which again, it's not necessarily bad, but I do find it interesting. I like the show a lot. I'm trying to think of why I think Supergirl got canceled. I know what they've said, and I know that it just right now doesn't make sense. You also have to wonder why or how the HBO stuff coming out, a lot of cool HBO Max shows that are not connected to the Arrowverse, that stuff coming out. You got to wonder if that's affecting it at all. But Batwoman apparently is. So let's talk about Batwoman as well. There's obviously a new Batwoman. I didn't write her name down. I can't remember her name. And I don't want to Google it because I'm kind of lazy. But she was cast as Batwoman. She just revealed photos of her in the Batsuit a couple days ago from recording this podcast. And she looked good. She looked just as good as Ruby Rose. Ruby Rose was I just can't do this anymore. I just found out, we tried it. This isn't my thing. And apparently it was very amicable. The studio was like, okay, bye. like you don't need to do this anymore. We don't need, which I think is kind of weird. I wonder if we're going to find out more stuff about that. Like maybe there was some drama, but she did get hurt really bad, filming that first season. And, it sucks. I think that they're going the right way of, we're going to bring a new character in rather than just like, hey, this is the same exact person, but we're going to pretend and hope that you believe that it's not a different actress, So they're bringing a different person in, and that's fine. I thought that I got through about 4 episodes of Batwoman and I had to stop. I think it's just awful, but apparently they did Hush, and that's something I really need to check out. By the way, it's dead quiet in my room right now where I do this podcast. It's 2 in the morning, or 1 in the morning, 1:17 in the morning as I record this, because I'm a night owl. So if you hear every little creak of my chair, hear that? And you hear me fidgeting with stuff, I apologize. It's stupid quiet in here, and I feel like I can hear it now more than ever in all the other. I can hear every breath I'm taking. I can hear every creak. It's gonna drive me insane, but bear with me. I appreciate you guys. So Arrow ended as well, and Arrow ended, I guess, right, not long after the Crisis event, and you guys know my thoughts on it. I loved the Crisis event. I had so much fun, but people seem to misunderstand the fact that I enjoyed it. As a nerd who loved all the Easter eggs, I didn't think it was good by any means. It was terrible. I mean, it was poorly written. It made zero sense. It was, in my opinion, a mockery of the epic, amazing book by George Perez, Crisis on Infinite Earths. And I don't mean that as like a gatekeeper. I just mean that I had so much fun watching it. It was a really cool, nerd out kind of, like, look at all the Easter eggs, look at all the cameos, look at all this, and I loved every minute of it, but it wasn't good, Arrow really has departed from wherever it started, and it ended. Flash, I think, totally jumped the King Shark. Look at my pun game. Flash completely jumped the King Shark, and it I don't know if you guys have been watching, but again, the same exact thing with Flash as with Arrow. Every single episode of every single season was the same. I'm not fast enough. You are fast enough, Barry. Believe in the heart of the cards, or whatever the fuck they were talking about. And you saved everyone, but you lied to me to do it. And now I don't trust you. But Iris, I had to do it. You don't realize you can't do this on your own. I'm mad. And then the next episode, some awful thing has happened, and it made me realize that being mad at you is a waste of time. I love you too. But Iris, I'm not fast enough. And we repeat the fucking cycle. It's really kind of dramatic-y, like, not in a well-written thing. It's clearly a formula. I think they have a formula for all these shows. And it's weird because I hated Legends as well. I was not into Legends. I was told by a trusted source that Legends got phenomenal, got way better than I was ever giving it credit for, and that I need to rewatch it. And I promise you this, not that any of you give a shit, but I promise you this, I'm going to go back and rewatch it, because apparently that show has gotten nuts and like fun and really cool, and I'll give it what it deserves. I think that's only fair. Superman and Lois Lane are getting their own show. Again, this is what's weird. They're adding more shows to this like clearly failing formula. Like, it was great for a while, and it was really great. I think Flash, the first 2, maybe 3 seasons, excellent. Arrow, I'll give you the same. Those first 2 seasons, maybe 3 seasons, absolutely great. Loved them. Had a lot of fun. Supergirl, really, I think shaky first season, because it was they were getting their footing. Second season comes around, boom, they found their stride. Really enjoyed it. Since then, it's all seriously declined. Uh, None of the continuity makes any sort of sense. It's all a very confusing, jumbled mess. I don't want to belabor this point, but I'm not a hater. I'm more upset that something I very much enjoyed turned out to be not so good. And I'm upset about that, you know? As a fan, I have a right to be upset because I wanted that thing to be great. I wanted that thing to be awesome. But yeah, Superman and Lois Lane, they're getting their own show. Here's another weird thing. So we find out at the end of the Crisis event, as Superman is flying through the green screen, that they don't have a son anymore. They don't have John, right? They have twin boys, which to my knowledge has never been a thing in the comics. And I like to consider myself a pretty good DC buff. I read a lot of DC comics, and I don't remember any storyline where Superman and Lois had twin boys, you know? I find it I'm intrigued. I'm not upset. I'm not like, "Oh, it wasn't in the comics." I don't believe that everything that they do for these shows and for the movies for that matter has to be exactly what happens in the comics, okay? I think it's crazy. Let me go off on this tangent. I think it's crazy that there are so many people out there who are like, this wasn't this way in the books, and this wasn't this way, and then you're like, but it was in the newer books, and they're like, well, the newer books are bullshit. And it's like, do you just seriously want the same exact stories told again and again and again and again? The same characters, the same everything? Let people make their own interpretation of it, you know? I'm intrigued. I'm oddly intrigued with whatever this Superman and Lois Lane show are going to be. Any of you 90s or 80s babies out there remember what's it called? Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman. Was that what it was called? I don't remember. It was with Dean Cain as Superman and Terry Hatcher as Lois Lane. Really great show. Really fun. And I think that's what they want to emulate, that chemistry, that enjoyable. Not everything felt super dire, but it was a lot more like adventures, you know, and we get to learn about their kids, and I don't know. I'm pretty interested. The Crisis event happened, and like I said, it was fun. It was awful, but it was fun, and I loved Brandon Routh coming back as his version of Superman in the Kingdom Come Superman. I thought that was awesome. I had not been watching Supergirl at this point, so this was the first time I got to see John Cryer as Lex Luthor. And I gotta say, I hated it, but I don't think I hated it. I don't know if that makes sense. What I mean is that it was very, very old comic booky, very like he was just kind of dastardly. He wasn't like pure evil. He did dickish things. He was more of a dick than anything, you know. He did some dickish things. He didn't scare me. He didn't feel like Lex Luthor, like, oh, you don't fuck with this guy. Like, even currently in the comics, like every time I read an issue of Justice League, I'm like, fuck, they gotta stop fucking with Lex Luthor. Like, this guy's smart. This guy's real smart. He's a smart guy. But I didn't get that, you know. Greg Berlanti sucks. I'm sorry. I even when I listen to him like do interviews, and he's like, I've created this world. Like, fuck that guy. Like, he's taken these franchises and these like IPs, and he's like, let's just do a formula. Let's just take a formula and replicate it now over like 9 shows, and we'll do it again and again and again and again, and as if nobody's gonna notice. Like, who the fuck do you think is watching? It's people who have been watching, or at least have binged, you know, at some point into the show. And I just don't get the whole formulaic approach to this. Like I seriously doubt, and I'm not talking about budget. I understand that they can't do certain things because, you know, television budget is not nearly what now it is a lot more than it used to be. You can do a lot more shit on TV. I don't know if you saw the King fight versus Gorilla Grodd episode of The Flash, but holy fuck, that was one of the craziest CGI fights I've ever seen. I loved every second of it, from like, I think it was from the last season or the season before, but you could also tell that sapped every bit of their of their budget, because for that whole season, every time it would show them run, like him and his daughter running side by side, it was like they were jogging in place next to a green screen. It was really obvious, and it was awful. So I'm guessing that took up a lot of the budget, but Greg Berlanti sucks. I just don't. I'm sure that these writers are fantastic writers, but they're probably put in a box, right? Like, they're showrunners, and they're like, no, write this, write the formula, you know? And so they're probably in writers' rooms being like, all right, guys, like, we're all fans here. We're all like, 20-something-year-old vegans. Like, let's, like, how do we get this done? How do we keep it cool while doing this fucking bullshit formula they keep pushing down our throats? And then another guy's like, what if the Green Arrow, what if he goes back to killing, and then people get mad at him, and then he has a lot of inner turmoil, and he broods a lot, and then he stops killing? What about that? And they're like, fucking perfect. Somebody print it now. I don't know. They have another new show. So they have the Superman and Lois Lane, but they have the Green Lantern show, and that is going to be part of the Berlantiverse, but it is going to premiere on HBO Max, and I don't think it will show on the CW. So that's interesting. So you have a show that is connected. At the end of the Crisis event, spoiler alert, John Diggle looks like he's standing next to a fucking random unmarked van, and then a meteor crashes next to him, which you would think would take out like a city block, but no. Meteor crashes next to him. He goes over to the hole, and it's glowing green, and he picks up a thing, and he opens it, and it shines green on his face, and it's a Green Lantern ring. You also found out that John Diggle's like father's name, or his stepfather, I think, is named, his last name is Stewart. So John Diggle is John Stewart. So they're going to kind of bring that into HBO Max, and I'm 100% going to watch it. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm watching this show. I've wanted a really good Green Lantern live action something, and before all you haters start talking shit about Ryan Reynolds, I love that movie. Is it bad? Yes, it's so bad. It's awful. Did I enjoy every minute of it? Have I rewatched it several times? You bet your fucking ass. It is so good. It's so good. It's horrible, but it's so good. And I won't have anybody saying anything else. It makes my heart happy. But I'm very interested in this Green Lantern show. However, there are a lot of HBO Max shows coming out that are not tied to the Berlantiverse. Titans and Doom Patrol, obviously, those are being brought over from DC Universe app. The DC Universe app is now called DC Universe Infinite, or Dunder Mifflin Infinity. I don't know, but it is that DC Universe Infinite is now 100% for comic reading, which is great. I think that DC has expressed their interest in like the next 5 years going to digital comics for the most part. I mean, I'm sure they're still going to be producing books, but at a much, much smaller rate. They're not going to be mass producing, and I'm all for it. I'm very interested to hear your opinions on it. So if you guys want to comment on the Facebook page or IG or something, like, do it. I don't know. I'm all for it. I like reading digital comics, but I've had a lot of people. I work in a comic book shop, and that does not drive our business. Believe me, that is like how gas stations don't make any money off of the gas that they sell. They make all their money off of the other stuff. We don't we don't really make money off of the comic books. We make money off of the other stuff. So, I've heard a lot of customers who are like, this is awful, and I go, well, you'll see me stop reading comics. If they kneel, I'll stop reading comics. And, I totally get why they'd be upset for them to stop, doing physical copies, or at least slow down or minimize doing physical copies. But also, I think that's just the way our world is moving. We have whole generations of kids who are growing up like doing all of their schoolwork and everything completely on computers and completely on iPads. They're not even having to write, and I'm not saying that in a bad way. Like, again, I think that's fine. That's called progression. But we'll see how things like that go. But all of the content, all the animated movies, the TV shows, everything, it got moved, or it's getting moved. It's in the process of getting moved from the DC Universe app to HBO Max. And HBO Max, they have Titans and Doom Patrol and Stargirl, which I think also plays on CW. Fun fact, you can watch Stargirl on the CW, but if you watch it like on the streaming services, it's like got a little more PG-13 stuff, and it's got extra scenes. So don't sleep on that. I that's the only way I will watch it, even though I haven't watched it in like a couple months. Stephen Strange is like a space cadet. He's like police, out in space. And currently there's a Tom King book being written called Strange Adventures, and it's kind of like I haven't read it yet. I'm actually waiting for all 12 issues to come out so I can binge it, because I think that's the only way to like really read Tom King's stuff. But Stephen Strange is a character that I think the idea is that because he travels through space and he drifts through space and time, that he sees everything, and he sees he kind of is there for a lot of important moments. I think I'm getting this wrong, but it's an anthology series. It's going to be more anecdotal and stuff. It's going to be pretty cool, and I think it might be based off of what Tom King's doing, so we'll have to take a look at that. Justice League Dark is getting a show, which is fucking awesome. J.J. Abrams and his company Bad Robot, they're producing and directing that. I'm a huge fan of the Justice League Dark. Zatanna and Constantine, Etrigan the Demon, Detective Chimp, all that kind of stuff. Love it. Swamp Thing, huge fan. I think that could be really cool for them to do. Gotham City Police Department. Now this one is rad, okay? Gotham City Police Department is getting their show. And basically what it is tied in to the Robert Pattinson Batman movie. It is in the same universe. The Batman movie, The Batman, is it takes place in year 2. Batman's year 2. This show takes place in year 1. So it's kind of like, you can see in the movie, at least by the trailer, he's starting to work with the police, and they're kind of, he's starting to kind of get in there. This is going to be a time when, no, they still think he's a vigilante, and they're hunting him, and, a lot of that kind of crazy stuff. So I'm really excited about that. Peacemaker is getting a show. John Cena, Peacemaker. He is confirmed as Peacemaker in the Suicide Squad movie, James Gunn's Suicide Squad movie, and they decided he's going to have his own show. The fun thing is that people asked on Twitter, they said, James, is this going to take place before or after your movie? And he said, you're just going to have to wait to find out. I can't tell you that. So I'm super intrigued. And then, of course, they have Young Justice, which I think its fourth season is coming out. It had a really good name too, like Phantoms. I think it's Young Justice Phantoms. If you haven't watched Young Justice, it is an animated series, but it is the most adult version of the most adult version of the younger characters. And of course it has a lot to do with the Justice League and the older characters as well. But it's a very, and I don't mean adult like they're all like having sex and weird stuff, but I just mean that it's very serious, very dramatic, and I love every bit of it. But I'm interested to hear, guys. I'd like to take this opportunity to tell you to please follow us on Facebook, the Bat in the Hat Podcast on Facebook, and on IG at Bat Hat Pod. And then I think on Twitter we are at Bat Hat Official. But if you could follow us on social media, give us a rating on whatever platform you're listening to us. If you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, just give us a rating and help us grow the show. And if you could share when there's a new episode coming out, see us on Facebook or on IG, go ahead and give us a share. Let people know, try to spread us around. I know that's a lot to ask, and it feels like I feel so weird being like, please, sir, please, share my podcast, but at the same time, fuck. It's the only way to grow. I really love doing this. I love sitting here talking to you guys. I know it's kind of weird because I don't even. I've been doing these last couple episodes solo, just again scheduling stuff. But sometimes I feel like I can hear you guys talking back to me, and it may be because I have a lot of customers in the store, and we talk about this kind of stuff on a daily basis. But it's great. I love doing this and talking to you guys. So I'd like to know on social media, and I'll put up, you can do it on the post that's talking about that, like it says new episode, whatever. Why do you think the Arrowverse is failing? Why do you think Supergirl got canceled? Obviously, I made a lot of jokes, but do you like these shows? And it's okay if you do. Like, please stick up for the stuff that you like, I just want to hear different perspectives, Why do you think... Where do you think it's heading is what I'd like to know. Go ahead and drop those answers on the post that was posted, whatever morning this is, that on Wednesday morning that's announcing this episode is live. So go ahead and do that. Other than that, let's just jump into some of the other news that's happening. Mike Mignola, you guys know him. He's the creator of Hellboy, and he has done some of my favorite artwork for Batman and for other just really cool covers and cover sketches and stuff. Mike Mignola did a quarantine sketchbook. He just did a whole fuck ass sketchbook. I mean, I know that's weird to say, but I was so baffled when I heard this news. He did a whole sketchbook during quarantine, and it's being published by Dark Horse Comics. So go to your LCS, or at least check the whatever sites you get your trade paperbacks from, and look for Mike Mignola's sketch quarantine book. It's not out yet. I think it's going to be out by the end of the year, but check that shit out, man. That's going to be really cool. That's just a cool thing to have on the coffee table, to be honest. Also, the internet has been going absolutely crazy because Henry Cavill was like, oh, I would love to play James Bond 007, governor, isn't it? Spot on, right? I think that, first of all, it's a great idea, of course. Did you ever watch Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol? When he did that, like, when he cocked his biceps as he was about to fight, like they were guns? Like, holy shit. Like, he is so James Bond. I'm not the biggest 007 fan. I did love Daniel Craig and a lot, all the movies I've seen with him. Yeah, it makes sense. It makes tons of sense. So, I also loved that Idris Elba, he got his name thrown around. I think it's terrible that he said he would turn it down now, because as soon as those rumors began, he immediately started getting hate and death threats and awful, because the world is full of shitty racists. And I think that's fucking awful. That the rumor of him playing James Bond couldn't even go around without people being like, I'll kill you, and then shouting the N-word at him. Like, it's awful. But Idris Elba would also be a very, very cool choice to play 007. WandaVision got a trailer. That's pretty neat. If you haven't watched it, you got to go on fucking YouTube or whatever you got. Watch the WandaVision trailer. Gave us a lot more. It's like it gave us a peek into the show without giving any sort of information as to what we should expect, what the plot might be. But it looked very good. I'm very excited. It looks very trippy, and I can't wait. For those 90s nerds like me, Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver are rumored to be, because of some files, like patent files and trademark files that were filed earlier this year, rumored to be coming to the Nintendo Switch. And it might be in like the Let's Go versions where they did Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. They may do Let's Go Totodile and Let's Go the fuck was the other one? I have him tattooed on my leg. Cyndaquil. I literally have Cyndaquil tattooed on my leg, and I couldn't remember. I think that's really cool, man. Those were honestly like my favorite generations. Gens 1 through 3 were perfect for me, and I hold them very dearly in my heart, and I think it would be great. I'd have to buy another Nintendo Switch because I sold mine during COVID, but other than that, I'm down. I'm game. DC's Black Adam has cast. Now, I wrote down cast, but I also then saw an article today saying that they were in talks. So this may be false. But Aldous Hodge, was cast for Hawkman, or is in talks to play Hawkman in DC's Black Adam. Aldous Hodge, it's one of those faces where you guys probably know him better than I do, but like I know him from he was MC Ren in Straight Outta Compton. I'm a huge NWA fan, and I've watched that movie 1,000 times. Aldous Hodge played MC Ren. But either way, he looks great. I think that just off of appearance alone and stoicism, is that a word? Stoicism? His stoic nature, I think he'd be a great choice to play Hawkman. Samuel L. Jackson is getting a Nick Fury Disney Plus series. I mean, yes. I don't know. If there's a single person complaining about this, I'll fuck you up. Like, yes, I can't. All I want is to see Nick Fury himself. Like, that's what Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. should have been. But, you know, and I'm not complaining that we got Coulson. I'm just saying that I want to see the big dog. I want to see Fury on adventures and doing whatever he does. Let's see. Marvel has shifted a bunch of their movies. They shifted the Eternals and Shang-Chi and Black Widow. Black Widow, by the way, was supposed to come out next month, and it got shifted. Last week on the podcast, I said, oh, Black Widow's about to come out, right? Right as soon as I stopped recording, I saw the article, so sorry about that. But they got shifted to May 7th of 2021. Like 8 months. Like, fuck. That's a lot of damage. Like, and I get it. They didn't want to be releasing movies when nobody was going to the theaters. So they're banking that, and I think Mulan didn't do great. So Disney's like, no, we're not going to do this with Black Widow. We're gonna push these movies to when we think people will be back in theaters. Hopefully, I want to say hopefully people are back in theaters, but I want to say hopefully there's like a vaccine or something going around, because, you know, hopefully people aren't just willy-nilly. Yeah, I will say I just went to the theater. Like, I don't want to be a hypocrite, but they have awesome social distancing guidelines, and everything felt real on the up. And like, I felt very comfortable and like, it was nice. It was actually really nice. Me and my girlfriend went. They spaced the seats out by like 3 seats around you. Like, it's fucking crazy. So, really cool stuff. There is a speaking of the CW, there's a live action Powerpuff Girls adaptation. Let me just say that again. A live action Powerpuff Girls adaptation. And I don't know what that's going to entail. However, I live for it. Now, do I think they are going to royally fuck this up? You bet I do. You bet I do. They're going to fuck it up so bad. I swear they're going to do something real bad. And I don't know what they're going to do, but I'm not excited. I'm not excited about it. Oh man. It's like I'm excited, but I'm not, you know. I don't know. I grew up in the 90s. I love the Powerpuff Girls. I love those old classic Cartoon Network shows. You know, I was definitely a Cartoon Network person over anything else, because I think that's also why I'm like a huge DC fan, because Cartoon Network seemed to have all the like DC properties. Oh, there's also like talks of did I talk about that? I don't know if I talked about that, but I just want to say it because I've been looking for a first appearance of Static. Static #1. Like, they're not hard to find, but people are grossly overcharging for them right now. However, spec being spec, there is talks of a live action Static Shock movie. I think it's a movie at DC. So I don't know. That would be interesting, but yeah, Powerpuff Girls, man, that's super weird. What do you guys think about that? You know, mention that if you're gonna like talk some shit in my comments. Go ahead and mention that. You know, say what you think about I just think that's super weird. Other than that, this is definitely a short episode. It's like 35 minutes currently. I just want to take another few minutes of your time if you're going to stick around, because there's some books coming out this week. By the time that you're listening to this, the books will be out because they come out on Wednesdays. And so I just wanted to give you a couple books to look out for this week. Justice League Annual #2 is coming out. And that is obviously tying into the death metal event. Very cool stuff. Justice League has been a phenomenal book. Three Jokers #2 is coming out. That is the story of, you know, after the New 52, at the end of the New 52, Batman sat in the Mobius chair, and it told, you know, he said, what's the identity of the Joker? Because the Mobius chair knows all. And it told him there were actually 3 Jokers. This is that story. It's a 3-issue book. I highly suggest going to pick it up at your local comic shop. Joker Warzone #1, tied in with the Joker War for the main Batman continuity. A lot of Batman stuff I understand, but you got to remember at all times there's like, I don't know, 5 Batman books going on. None of them in the same continuity. So if you can keep up, it's really cool. Scott Snyder has a book called Department of Truth #1 that's coming out this week. It is a serious twist on conspiracy theories, and I think it tackles mostly the outlandish conspiracy theories that surround John F. Kennedy's assassination. So I'm pretty excited for that, actually. I think I'm going to pick that up. That sounds really cool. Shang-Chi #1 comes out. I don't give a fuck about Shang-Chi. I think, honestly, he's dumb. But there is a Shang-Chi movie coming out. If you're listening to this at all, I figured I'd let you know. There's a Shang-Chi book coming out. And then last but not least, there's Giant Size X-Men #1. It's a Wine and Cockrum tribute. 45 years since Giant Size X-Men #1 came out. And honestly, they're doing the coolest thing I can imagine. There's 37 different artists recreating that book, panel for panel, in their own updated style. So every page is a different artist's interpretation of a page of the book. So every page is going to be a different art style. I think that's really cool, man. Giant Size X-Men #1 was a massive, important book. It introduced so many characters, so many current X-Men, so many things that people care about. I'm not even really an X-Men fan, but I love the history of that book. And I think that's just really neat that they're getting 37 of comics' best artists to do their own interpretations of each page of that book. I think that's fantastic. Other than that, that's our show, folks. It's been about 36, 37 minutes. We're going to round up to 40 here in a second. But, thank you guys so much. I don't know what's up with the audio. It sounds really weird to me today. I'm going to get it figured out so it sounds a little warmer. Not nearly as breathy. Not nearly as like where you can hear all my squeaking. But, thank you guys so much for listening. If you have any questions, anything, hit me up on Facebook. You can always message me. Again, that's the Bat in the Hat podcast on Facebook. You could also hit me up on IG at Bat Hat Pod or Twitter at Bat Hat Official. And other than that, keep on being nerdy and shit. And I will see you on the next one. Later.